This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What I want to discuss on today's show, will the Niners draft a quarterback? Of course, they have Brock Purdy. He's been their starter since 2022. He's played at an elite level. They brought in Mac Jones on a 2-year contract, an NFL free agency. Tanner Mordecai is the QB3, but this is an interesting quarterback class. It's thin as far as franchise-changing talent, but there are two quarterbacks that I want to discuss on today's show that I think could be intriguing options for the Niners on day 2 or day 3 of the draft. And you look at that Niners quarterback depth chart. We'll see if and when a contract extension gets done for Brock Purdy. It's going to be within $50, $60 million. We'll see what the guaranteed money is. I imagine it's going to be at least $120 million in guaranteed dough. And I think that deal will eventually get done because Purdy has played too well for San Francisco, and he's too good of a scheme fit for what Kyle Shanahan wants at that quarterback spot to let him go or to have him play on the expiring year of his contract. Because if you don't have a quarterback and you're in quarterback purgatory, you're in no man's land. It's the worst place to be in the NFL. I think Mac Jones is a very capable backup quarterback. Kyle Shanahan loved him in the pre-draft process in 2021. Gets the ball out on time, in rhythm, accurately. He can run the system. When he was at Alabama, he had an unbelievable year en route to winning the national championship. But to start his career, he hasn't been in an ideal offensive situation. And then QB3 is a big unknown. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this show here today. Tanner Mordecai showed some things in college while playing for SMU, playing for Wisconsin last year in the preseason. You saw some athletic ability for him, has a solid arm. He can move, but he's a huge unknown, and I don't think that he would be better than the two quarterbacks who we're going to dissect, evaluate, and scout on the show here today. So naturally with that, I pop up today's poll question: do the Niners need to draft a quarterback? Let me know down in the comment section right now. As for my quarterback big board for the 2025 NFL Draft, Cam Ward is my QB1 out of Miami. What a path he's been on. He was at Incarnate Word, then he went to Washington State, transferred to Miami. Last year, really emerged as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. And his ability to come through in the clutch, he has that clutch gene, good athlete, really strong arm. I like the personality. He's a dog, has swagger and confidence. Game-wise, I think he's QB1 by a pretty wide margin. And then it's everybody else in my opinion. Shedeur Sanders, smaller body, not a great runner, not a dynamic athlete, doesn't have a cannon for an arm, but against the blitz, against pressure looks, in the clutch, he's good, and he throws with really good timing, accuracy, and anticipation. Jackson Dart kind of plays like Jalen Hurts. He has mobility. He's really strong, has a strong arm, like the leadership qualities. He's a gamer, but I think he needs some grooming to be ready to play at the next level. Just some developmental things that I think needs to take place in his game. There's Tyler Shough out of Louisville, who a lot of NFL draft analysts really like, and they think that he can be a potential first-round pick. And then Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Jalen Milroe round out my quarterback big board, and I think those quarterbacks are day 2, day 3 prospects. The two quarterbacks who I really like for the 49ers, when we talk about scheme fit and quarterbacks who I think Kyle Shanahan would really like, because he likes quarterbacks who will run his system, get the ball out on time, accurately, to the playmakers, out in space, so that they can pick up yards after the catch. Quarterbacks who process well, who can throw with timing and anticipation. Those two quarterbacks are Will Howard and Kyle McCord. And let's begin with Will Howard. I think there's a slight chance that he could go at the end of the first round. I think there's a good chance he goes in the second round. Maybe he falls to the third round, but I think he's a day 2, round 2 player. Like the size and toughness at 6'4", 236. Really sturdy frame. And with his game, makes good decisions. He's accurate, and I really like his clean mechanics. You can tell that he's been taught well throughout his entire upbringing. growing up in the Philadelphia area, going to Kansas State, going to Ohio State. I like his motion. It's really quick and snappy. His game complements the play caller. Last year you saw that with Chip Kelly. Once Chip Kelly and Will Howard started to trust one another, and especially after they got over that awful Michigan loss, you could see them on the same page, and Will Howard ran Chip Kelly's system. He's a better quarterback who complements the play caller as compared to him making plays out of structure. He's also an underrated runner. Once pressure hits, he has some giddy up to his game, has solid arm strength to push the ball down the field, not a laser. Sometimes he can struggle with some of those sideline throws on some of the timing routes where he really needs to rear back and throw that fastball, but it's a good enough arm to be successful at the next level. And I really, really like how he played his best football when the pressure was on in the college football playoff. He played outstanding. It started when he made some wow throws early against Tennessee in Columbus, and it continued all the way en route to Ohio State winning the national championship. And conversely, I think Chip Kelly did a good job of putting him in a position to succeed. In those 3 games played in the college football playoff, he completed nearly 73% of his passes, 839 yards, 10.5 yards per attempt, 6 total touchdowns, only threw 1 pick. So 6 total touchdowns, 1 pick. That's very solid. And throughout the entirety of the 2024 season, there were a lot of good performances, and he did some things that I really like. The accuracy, clearly there, 73%. Now, he had really good wide receivers to throw to, 2 NFL caliber running backs, an offensive line that featured a couple of future NFL starters. But in getting the ball out on time accurately, fitting the ball into some tight windows, he did that. He threw for more than 4,000 yards. He ran for 226. So that's the ability and the agility to make some plays with his feet and legs. 42 total touchdowns and only had 10 interceptions and 1 fumble. So he was pretty secure with the football. Started his career at Kansas State, and he was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. 2023 was when finally he got to play a full season, and he threw for 33 touchdowns, or had 33 total touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Look at how much, though, the completion percentage went up year over year and from 2023 to 2024. I don't think at the NFL level he's going to be a 73% guy, because nobody is really a 73% guy with volume at the next level. But I do like how there was an uptick and an increase and an improvement with that accuracy. But due to it being a thin quarterback class, for instance, last year it was a deep quarterback class. A lot of really good QBs. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. They all went early in that first round. If that were the quarterback class this year, I think Will Howard could be available at a point where the Niners could take him while still addressing other needs. But this year, I think Howard could sneak into the second round, and the Niners aren't going to take a quarterback in the second round. If he falls to round 3 and you make some trades to maybe gain another 3rd-round pick, then I would be intrigued. But the quarterback who we're about to talk about next, I think might be a more realistic option. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of the NFL draft, Niners draft hats are available at chatsports.com/49 draft hats. These are the hats that the draftees from this class will be wearing. You can get yours today. Available in black, white, snapback, fitted. There's also the dad hat style, which is a little bit more snug on your dome piece. You plug in that link down below, it takes you to Fanatics. Chatsports.com/49 draft hats. Going to put that link down below in the comment section attached to the pinned comment. Look fresh, rep the Niners, and wear the same hats that the Niners draftees will be wearing after they get selected by San Francisco. All right, we continue to move forward on today's show. My favorite quarterback in this class for the San Francisco 49ers, if they want to draft a quarterback who could fall to a point where it makes sense for the Niners, is Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. Funny enough, Earlier on in this show, I was talking about how I really like Will Howard. Well, Will Howard replaced Kyle McCord at Ohio State, which then forced Kyle McCord to transfer to Syracuse. When I scout McCord, good size, 6'3", same height pretty much as Will Howard. Not as heavy. Will Howard, 230 plus pounds. Kyle McCord at 218. McCord at times during his Ohio State career, as he was a former 5-star coming from St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia, which churns out great college and pro prospects on the regular, he struggled with this confidence at Ohio State. And I'm not sure if him and that coaching staff weren't on the same page, if Ryan Day didn't fully trust him, but he just lacked confidence. You could see it in his eyes. You could see it with this play. He'd make some good throws. He'd have some good games. Then he'd make some bad decisions, and he'd have some porous games. But then this past year, under Fran Brown, who is a great players coach and instills a lot of confidence in his players, he fully put it together. And Kyle McCord looked really confident from the start of the year to the end of the year. And I think he was motivated a little bit because he felt disrespected by Ohio State for basically getting him out of that program and finding his replacement through the transfer portal in Will Howard. Now, Kyle McCord is not mobile inside or outside the pocket. He doesn't have a running ability like Will Howard does, but he's really good making throws within the pocket. And he's a really good thrower of the football. And I also like his mentality. It's very aggressive. He has that gunslinger type of thought process going on in between his ears. At times, he can process a little bit slow, but if he were to go to a team like the 49ers, I really think Kyle Shanahan could continue his development from what he did at Ohio State, making the leap while at Syracuse, and then being able to have him within this Niners program over the next few years where he's not going to be pressed to play. He can be a backup, and he can learn from the likes of Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, and Kyle Shanahan. And over time, I think at the very least, he can become a very solid backup and potentially a solid starter in this league. And when I talk about what he did last year at Syracuse, I was very impressed. 13 games played. Playing in the ACC, they went up against some pretty good competition. He completed 66% of his passes, and his numbers were awesome. He threw for nearly 4,800 yards, yards per attempt at 8.1. He had 37 total touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And year over year, there were sizable improvements with his game. Keep in mind, when he was at Ohio State, he had multiple skill position players on the offensive side of the football who were either going to be NFL players or are going to be NFL players or are turning into NFL players right now. And his completion percentage went up just a tad, but look at how much his passing yards went up when he didn't have as much firepower on offense. 3,100 plus yards to nearly 4,800 from 2023 to 2024 with only one more game. Yards per attempt went down because Syracuse didn't have some of the athletic wide receivers and dynamic home run hitters on that outside, but the total touchdowns went up by 13. And yeah, he threw it a little bit more, so the interceptions are going to go up, but the fumbles did go down. So Kyle McCord is a player on day 3 who the Niners have 11 picks, right? And they have a lot of needs. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, corner, running back I think they could use. Maybe another tight end, maybe some wide receivers, depending on what they want to do with Brandon Ayuk. I would love Kyle McCord as a developmental quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system, and I've been saying that over the last couple of weeks, so excited to say that here and talk about it in depth on the show. Some people really like Riley Leonard within this Niners fan base. I don't think he's a good enough passer to be a good quarterback at the next level. I don't think he's a good enough or consistent enough passer for Kyle Shanahan. And in the college football playoff, Notre Dame rarely asked him to throw the football. And this past year, once he transferred from Duke, where he was playing under Mike Elko, plays under Marcus Freeman, and he helped get Notre Dame over the top. They played for a national championship. All that is great. He was a really good running quarterback. Yeah, he combined for 38 total touchdowns, but I just don't like what I saw within a small sample size of him throwing the football. I think the motion at times can get a little bit inconsistent and loopy. And I think it's pretty telling when a college program doesn't want your quarterback to throw all that much. And there's just not a large body of work as far as passing production throughout his college career, from Duke to Notre Dame. So even if it's a 7th-round pick that comes along, if I'm the Niners, I'm still passing because I just don't see how he's going to be able to find success at the next level. Again, the athleticism, the running ability, it's pretty damn good, right? 906 rushing yards in 2024, that's no joke. 17 rushing touchdowns, he deserves credit for that. But there is a long way for him to go as a passer if he wants to succeed at the NFL level. So which quarterback prospect do you like for the 49ers? And obviously, realistic quarterback prospects is what I'm asking you about here.